All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing my weekly review for this week's episode of The Walking Dead Season 10. This is for Michonne's last episode, Season 10, Episode 13, What We Become. Alright, and possible spoiler warning, if you guys have not seen this episode yet for The Walking Dead Season 10, you definitely are going to want to watch it before you watch this review, as this is now a very important episode for Walking Dead. This is the final episode for Michonne. So she appeared in the series in the Season 2 finale. I believe it was beside the dying fire, uncasted, and just a cloak and everything. Season 3 comes in, and we get, pretty much our first Denai Guerrera Michonne. So her continued, efforts and great performances and everything that we've seen in the series from the beginning of Season 3 up until right now, with this being her final episode. So, after getting to see the episode, man, I absolutely loved it. Now, this one was actually not spoiled for me, which is really great to see, considering I do watch it Sunday nights. I don't watch it early with premiere on Fridays or Saturdays like a lot of you guys do, which is fine. This is no problem. But I was really happy that I got to kind of watch this one through and kind of just enjoy it and kind of see the scenes up until the end. Extremely impressed with this episode. Absolutely blown away by the episode. I can say that it was much better than I thought it was going to be. I didn't have the highest expectations for this one because we've seen some awesome stuff happening with the Whispers. We've seen some awesome stuff happening with Alpha and Beta, and the preview for next week actually looks really good too. So we'll get into that in the predictions video. But this one was a really special episode, and easily for me, my favorite episode of the season, which is saying a lot because last week's episode was also incredibly amazing with Carol, Negan, Alpha, Gamma, Beta, like all the Whisper War stuff in the battle at the hilltop and everything. This one for me still takes it because as much as I enjoy seeing the awesome battles at the hilltop and fire everywhere and Negan and Alpha and the whole thing that went down, which was amazing and everything, I would say that closer to the heart, for me anyway, as a hardcore Walking Dead fan, is always going to be, those OG members, Rick, Michonne, Carl, Daryl, and the ones that we get to see in this one. So this was really cool. They did something similar to what we saw with Rick's final episode. In his case, he was kind of bleeding out, so he was in and out of consciousness, and he was sort of in a half-dream state type of thing. In this one, they do something somewhat similar, but they do it sort of in a bad trip type of state. And unlike Virgil, Michonne gets into a sort of hell type of trip with whatever kind of poison or whatever. I think he did say at one time Virgil is using in this case to kind of make her kind of trip out as he's sort of giving her the food and everything. And I was so blown away by these dream sequences. I mean, I have never seen anything okay, so this is basically what we're seeing in this episode. It's not possible to get Andrew Lincoln to return as Rick to actually do the scenes. It's not possible. Well, for some of the others, maybe they were offered to come back, like the actress Laurie who played Andrea. Not to confuse you there, Laurie, but that's the actress's name who played Andrea, Laurie Holden. So it might not be possible to get all of them to come back, or Stephen Yeun as Glenn, right? To get them all to come back. But what they did instead, which usually looks awful, is they took the older scenes from the show and they mix them in, and then it's also kind of an acid trip, so it fits in kind of perfectly with that too, because she's delirious and she's seeing technicolors and the dizziness and everything that kind of can come with a sort of a bad trip, I suppose. And they mixed in those older scenes with the new ones. So, favorite part of the episode, the scene where you see evil Michonne, so Negan Michonne, Savior Michonne, face off against Rick, and it's like she's looking at him, and you see this evil version of Michonne looking at Rick in the kneeling, the lineup. Oh man, I geeked out so bad, man. I thought that was so amazing. Just to see, because you just see her face, and she's just so intense and everything, and she's looking at him, and then he's looking back at her. Or maybe even better than that, when it kind of that progression what if type of scenario continues in her mind, and you see her become a savior with Negan, and she kind of takes a swipe on him and punches her back, and then with the Lucille, he kind of pushes her back and everything, and then she happened to be there when they went in and took out all the saviors at the outpost, and then they splice it to where you have Laura killed by Glenn, and you have Michonne wake up. And so in this alternate sort of hell sequence, she kills Glenn and she kills Heath. Because they just happened to be in that room. You guys remember these scenes when we saw this, and they kind of went in, and Glenn was hesitant and whatever. Well, in this one it's even worse because he's like killing Laura, so is what it is, and the others, and then to top it all off at the end. So at the end of her dream sequence, to cap the whole thing off of the way the whole thing plays through, at the very end, she's fighting against the survivors because she's a savior in this one, and she basically kills a couple, and then she gets shot by Daryl. And this is where they got me. She's on the ground, whatever, Daryl's like putting it up, and then they splice in a part of Rick where he walks up with the Colt and he pulls the trigger and it blacks out. That was so sick. Oh my God. I'm going to blow up my microphone. I'm so excited here with how amazing that was, because it was sort of like, and even Carl and everything like that, when they show kind of like the fence and stuff, when she first kind of comes to the prison and stuff, like, and that whole thing. I mean, it was just, like I said, I've never seen older footage reused in such a way like that and had it splice into where it fits naturally, because that's what you're looking at. Like when I'm watching it through, I'm looking at, okay, does this fit in place, like in terms of the visuals? And it did. They must have put a lot of work into this one. They were able to take out certain clips and do it in such a way where they actually fit in, and it didn't feel like it didn't feel like it was out of place or anything. Like it felt like it made sense and everything. I mean, they certainly went over and above doing the best they could with what they had. Or even the Andrea parts too, where she's kind of like running down and then she gets kind of eaten, and then after it kind of shows Michonne kind of go back and she takes her stuff. I'm like, that's how brutal this sort of hell sequence is. Like she's taking Andrea's stuff after Andrea was just devoured by walkers in this type of alternate evil Michonne type of vision that she's getting. So it's safe to say I want to watch that stuff again, because I just thought it was so amazing. Or like the one I think it's Clear. Yeah, it's Clear, where they're driving down, and this was actually in that car that you see in the scene. It was actually Michonne, Rick, and Carl. When they went to see Morgan to get the guns. You're taking a lot of guns, Rick. What do you need the guns for? When they go to see Morgan to get the munitions, and it's kind of familiar, right? The weapons, and they do, for facing against the governor. And there's someone who runs down, this guy who kind of runs down, he's got the pack on and everything, and they don't help him. And then I think later they see that his stuff is there or whatever, so we're to assume that he's killed after that. Well, in this one, they kind of splice it into where, Michonne's the one kind of like in that situation, and then Daryl gets out of the car and does that and decides not to help her, and then she later becomes a savior. So I just thought that stuff was so cool. I sort of saw it coming, but I didn't really see it coming. You guys know we did some videos on the Michonne with Lucille scene, how that fits in and it not being real. Well, it turned out to be real, but it's not really real, and they're like it's a nightmare, bad trip sequence. So it's not really real, but it's real enough as a mental object for her, I suppose, in this state. So safe to say, I loved all the stuff with the flashbacks. I thought it was well, not flashbacks, but dream sequence from whatever Virgil's giving her. Just thought it was amazing. So thoughts on Virgil as a villain? I thought he was kind of the perfect villain for Michonne in a way, because you have Michonne who's probably the fiercest female warrior that we've seen, and we kind of get to see it a little bit, like what if she had joined, Negan and the Saviors. Yeah, she probably would have killed Glenn in that moment. She probably would have killed Heath in that moment. And she probably would have been on a badass tear and wanted to get revenge on them and be the one to Lucille, whoever it is, I guess herself. I thought she was going to pick Maggie for a second. I was like, oh man, she's got, the baby and everything. Or I thought they'd have her Lucille Rick or something. They sort of have her Lucille herself in a way, which I guess it kind of makes sense. Or like the good version of her, right? So it's sort of like the evil beating down the good, the darkness defeating the light. So I liked Virgil as a villain. I hate him, right? I hate him at first, but I like him as a villain for Michonne because he's not physically tough. he's sort of the opposite of Michonne. So you have Michonne, super strong female. You know, she's even got the shoulders and everything. She's been doing shoulder presses every day for the last 8 years, right? And from swinging that damn sword all the time. I bet you she does shoulder presses, military presses. How much you want to bet? Or some kind of shoulder exercise, right? So, you know, you got her. She's super strong and everything. And then you got, you got Virgil here, who's like he's the most effeminate man you could find. Like he's a wimpy man. He's extremely beta man. He's not tough. He's not strong. We get the sense he probably doesn't kill zombies almost at all. Do we see him kill a single zombie in this whole season? I don't think he's ever killed a zombie that we've seen. It seems like he's kind of the one to kind of run away from them and like avoid them and stuff, that whole thing. And he's just like the most wimpy guy ever. And all he really is paranoid and crazy from the stuff that he took. And you get the sense he's probably been sitting there for years by himself, just tripping on the stuff. And he's just kind of lost his mind over time, even to the point where he like falls in the hallway and pulls the thing down. Now, it kind of felt like he did it on purpose. And, you know, did he do it on purpose? I don't know. You guys can leave your comments down below. It kind of feels like maybe part of him did, or yeah, like it kind of feels like he sort of did, but at the same time, he gets himself kind of locked in with her and stuff. And he's just this really like timid, she could kill him in half a second if she wants to, but she almost feels sorry for him. He's kind of got this, he's, I guess, a sneaky wounded beta male is basically what he is. And that's just like the perfect villain for Michonne to face off against, because she could just kill him so easily, but she won't, because she kind of feels, and then she wants to help him, whatever, because through helping Andrea, through helping others in the past, she got to go into a positive thing that happened with Rick and the others, and, you know, finding love and finding all the things that she had, a family and everything. And that she still does have, right? From that perspective. So I liked Virgil as a villain. He's easy to hate at first. And in the end, I felt like I did actually kind of like the fact that she didn't kill him and that she gave him mercy. And they even kind of go into that a little bit from her perspective. And it even made me think of Alpha a little bit. Like, I hate Alpha so much. She probably had to be killed because she was too dangerous to be allowed to live from Negan and everything. But even in getting their vengeance, it's still... I don't know if it really does much. Even for us, like as viewers watching Negan kill Alpha, I wouldn't say for Carol I'm really happy for her. I guess in a way, because then she gets vengeance for Henry and everything, and for losing the kingdom and everything that the Whisperers caused. But at the same time, it just feels kind of empty. And so for Michonne to kind of explain that to those that Virgil kind of captured, it kind of does feel more peaceful in a way for them to just kind of see him for what he really is, which is not some fearsome, terrorizing. Maybe he is if he gets the upper hand, but he's really not. This uber villain type of guy. He's just this crazy wimpy kind of guy that he does gain the upper hand through what he's doing, and it's not good. But, he's redeemable, I guess, some way in the end, and that he's so kind of pathetic that he's fallen into these behaviors and stuff and losing his mind. And I guess in some sick way, he thought he was helping Michonne to deal with some of the things she went through with the stuff that he took that maybe helped him, I don't know, explore his mind or something like this, even though for her it was kind of the opposite to what the experience that he had. And then let's get into the stuff with Rick. So ultimately, the biggest thing about the episode and the biggest change of the series, this is Michonne's final goodbye for Walking Dead. She's going off to likely the movies whenever they, with the world situation now too, that's probably going to be pushed back as well. Maybe we'll get some info on that tonight from Talking Dead. But, to get to see her kind of go off to the movies and that whole thing, to get Judith's kind of support in her doing so with her leave and everything, I thought was really good. I mean, they could have gone a lot of different ways with it. A lot of us thought maybe they would just kill Michonne off. But luckily, the CRM, the customer relationship management, has allowed us to have her go to the movies and probably see her in the Rick movies and everything like that. And that'll be really cool for them to do it that way rather than having to kill her off. With her not being able to be in the series anymore. So I'm really glad they figured out this whole movie idea. They figured out this whole movie thing, because it allows for the series to continue and for people not to turn against it when you have to maybe kill off some of these important characters. So I loved all that. I even liked the scene at the end where they kind of she goes for the brave man, and she finds his boots and whatever, and I like that she smells them. It's kind of funny, which is cool. He's got to know that they're his, right? And once she gets, she probably knows for sure they're his once she gets the smell, right? That's pheromones, and so goes off to find Rick and everything, and I love that. I love like I said, the scenes of even getting to see Rick, even though they're kind of reused. That's the best we can get for now. And man, it was just it was so cool. I liked how too you have Virgil just kind of stays at the island, like that's it for him. He's just gonna live out his days there by himself, and that's what's best for him really at this point. For him to be around others and to try to contribute and stuff, it's kind of like, he's probably too far gone, so just leave him there, right? So, and they go off in this new ship or whatever, and then she's to head north. To try, right? That's the name of Walking Dead episode 2. And then you've got the walkie, and she says, "I love you" and everything to Judith, and then go get him, and then it's just an awesome scene at the end. Right? And then you just have like her meeting this couple of random survivors there that she decides to help in this whole explorative process she goes through in this episode of whether or not to help people, whether or not she should have helped Virgil. And in the end, when she's faced with a similar decision for others that she doesn't know, she decides that yes, she's still going to help. She's not going to turn away like she could have done against Andrea or the others, even though it's very hard to help because some people you run into are going to be, are going to backstab you and whatnot. Still, it's better to be the good guy and to help rather than become, what she would be if she refused to help anybody. So, and then we see this new group at the end there that's kind of riding off, which made me think most of Virginia from Fear, because you got like them, they're like, what are they all on horseback or something? They're kind of riding like this. So, is that kind of some other group, and they're wearing like these this type of thing, like a settlers, pioneers type of deal. So it looks most similar to that to me, but it could just be another group, right? It could just be a new group that she's run into. Do I think it's the CRM right there? I don't know. We'll see as more information comes to light. It doesn't really seem like it, but they seem to be sort of organized in a way. And I like the transformation at the end where she goes back to the old Michonne. She cuts the arms off and cuts the things off, and then goes. And then just like when she originally helped Andrea, I think, right? Does she turn around and kill her walkers right now? I'm not sure, but anyway, she kills the walkers and everything, and it has some similarities back to that near the beginning. All right, they even had Sadiq return as part of this to kind of narrate us through to get things started about how she couldn't protect. The others around, and what about Coco and the others and everything. And then later on she asks about Rosita and about Coco because she's concerned about that. So drugs are bad, right? Don't do drugs. It's not good for you guys. Maybe in this case, well, did it set her mind free? Did it help her with her clarity or whatnot? I don't know. Maybe in a way. I'm not sure. I don't know. That's up to you if you want to get into that stuff. But man, I just absolutely loved it. Should we go into the specifics of the episode? Maybe we can do that in the Q&As. But I did get tripped out as she's going through, and Virgil's like behind her the whole time and everything. I'm like, when's he going to turn? When's he going to turn on her? And it happens through his paranoia that she does something that I guess from his perspective she's not supposed to do. So maybe he looks at it as she's done something that now he can't trust her, so he's got to lock her in and do whatever. So his paranoia has been taken to the extreme to where he doesn't trust others. The second somebody does something that's out of what they've discussed, then he locks her in and everything, and you see the rest. So there's that, and then the others that are beside and everything, the little group. And yeah, man, I love the zombie kills of her when she just cleans house. I thought that was really cool because you have this wimpy Virgil with her, and then you have all these walkers coming in, and I felt like at that time you get to see like what a fully matured Michonne can do when you bring in like a room full of walkers that used to be something that's so scary that people would just run away. She's so tough, she just pulls out the sword, and before you know it, within like a minute or two, she's absolutely cleared the entire room out like it's no big deal, which is something that Virgil probably could it would take him weeks or years if he had to try to kill one at a time and strategically move them back and whatever. She's just, boom, 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 just cool, just absolutely clearing house, fully evolved, fully finished in development, Michonne at the end here. and happy she gets to go out as a hero, and kind of that, just that strong in the end that she gets to kind of show her stuff a little bit in the episode too. Whereas most people would run or be terrified. They're blocked in the gully zombies here. She's just taking it on, all by herself, and it ain't no thing, right? It's no problem. So that was cool. So we find out Virgil's cracked. We get all the drugs and everything like that. Some apples around and acid or whatever I wrote down 3 times. You've said that, and then she finally kind of stabs him with a fork and whatnot, which is that's kind of fun. And that's pretty much what I got. I think that's basically the episode, right? Again, we can go into more if you guys want to focus on certain parts, as we go through here. But in terms of score for the episode, I can't help but think to give it anything but a perfect 10 out of 10 for Michonne. It's an amazing spotlight episode. It's epic at the end. I love the visuals of her kind of wearing the cloak again and cutting up the walkers, and it's like boom, it's like back to the beginning, or this is her deal. This is if this was a video game, this would be the highest level version of Michonne. This is a level 99 Michonne. Right at the end, she's the strongest she's going to develop to be. She's what it is, and she's off to face the unknown to find Rick. Now that she's seen his stuff and his boots, and what was that, a phone with Rick written into it, and kind of a drawing of Michonne and of Judith as she questions. I guess she questions Virgil about it, and he's like, "Who? He really doesn't know," and she gets the sense he really doesn't know. Washing up on the boat off to find Rick, right? And that's what it is. And then she runs into people pretty quickly afterwards, which again kind of feeds into the whole idea that it's a big world out there. There's lots of groups out there. There's lots of stuff going on in the world of The Walking Dead. And so what we see is like one small corner of everything else that's going on out there, and all the survivors that are out there, and groups and whatnot. And so lots of great stuff to come in the future for The Walking Dead. It feels like it's not the end. It's the end for Michonne in the TV series, but it's not the end of The Walking Dead. There's the whole world out there to be explored and everything, and she's ready to go get started looking for Rick. So we'll probably see her in the movies after. So perfect 10 out of 10. My favorite episode of the season. My favorite episode since Rick's last episode, which I hate to compare the two, but Rick's last episode for me is probably. Can I say like my favorite episode ever? I guess so. But this one is definitely up there for me as one of the most important episodes they've ever done, because Michonne is amazing also, and can't wait to see her in the movies. So that's my review and somewhat of a reaction for this episode, guys. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was incredible, and one that I will never forget as a Walking Dead fan. So let me know what you guys think. If you liked this review, thumb it up below. Let me know what you thought about the episode. I know some people were saying they thought it was boring and this whole thing. So leave your comments below if that's true. It's no problem. Hey, we're all allowed to have our opinion. That's totally fine. But I absolutely freaking loved it, especially with how much they were able to work in Rick and Glenn and Andrea, considering they can't have those actors return. How well they did with the ones they did have, like Negan's scenes with her and Daryl, shooting with an arrow. It's like, oh my god, it's awesome. Anyway, that's it for this one, guys. We'll see you soon for the predictions video and live stream tonight. We'll hang out and we'll talk about all this stuff for probably an hour and a half, 2 hours, unless we get interrupted again. We'll see how that thing goes. Hopefully not. That's it for this one. See you guys again soon for another. As always, this is Trev, and I'm saying peace later, guys. See you soon.